Welcome to another video with my VW Lupo 3L. As you can see, the car is not on the lift anymore, so I could manage to get it running. So let's have a look how it's driving today. So what was the problem and how did I fix it? As you could see in the last part, the problem was that I couldn't really adjust the control unit to the new gearbox because it was always kicking me out of the program, and if you can't do the calibration, the problem is that nothing works. So the car doesn't know which gear it's in, so it doesn't even let you start the car. Just nothing works anymore if the gearbox doesn't work on this car. So it's really important that you get this configuration done. And the problem is that nowadays the laptops are too fast for these old control units in this car, which is 26 years old now. So the control units in this car are super slow, the laptops are super fast, and then the laptops just say, no, it's runtime error, it just takes too long, and it's kicking you out. So I'm going to show you the little trick that I used, or the little adjustment I had to do to this program to get this done. So the main problem I had with the Lupo was that while doing the configuration with the gearbox, it was always kicking me out of the program. And I want to show you a little trick that one expert for these cars showed me, and this is what helped me a lot. So if you go to settings in VCDS, so I used VCDS, which is a great software to do all kinds of things at VW Group cars. You have the option here of change the protocol to KWP1281. And I ticked that box, and that means that the program knows that it's a relatively slow ECU it's talking to. So the connection was a lot better, it didn't kick me out anymore, and I was able to run the program. And after I changed to this setting, it didn't kick me out of the program anymore, the calibration could run through, and suddenly everything worked. So the program ran until the end, and it wanted to have the last steps, so you need to press the throttle up until the last position, and you need to put the shifter into the minus position and hold it for a while, and all these little things, but it wasn't a problem. It just ran through, and in the end I could drive the car. It was a bit strange that the clutch was slipping through quite a lot at the very beginning, but after a few times, so after maybe 300 meters of driving, so very, very short distance, it already adjusted to that, and then it was driving nicely. So now that it's running, I want to show you how it's driving. So let's go. So I'm doing the wheel alignment right now. I just quickly wanted to show you that because it's a very simple method. You just take two plastic bottles, put a string straight across the car, and across the length of the car, and then you can very easily measure toe in, toe out at each wheel. So when you do the wheel alignment, first of all you start at the rear axle to make sure that the rear axle is straight, and then you go to the front axle, because usually the rear axle is harder to adjust. Here we have this twist beam axle, so we can't really adjust much. And now I'm just checking here. So this is 1.3 millimeters, and then I go to the front. Of course, this is not in the center of the wheel, but still it gives you an idea of where it is. And on the other side, I have this at the same. So this is 1.55. Let me just go to the other side. So that means the wheel is further in at the front, which means we have toe in at the rear axle, which is pretty much what we want on a car like this. And here we have almost 1.2. It's not exactly the same as on the other side because, of course, we have a different height of the string here. It's just about the difference between front and rear. Also, that one will be a little bit less than here. And here you can see it's slightly more than on the other side. So which means we have pretty similar toe in on the rear axle. So that's fine. That's exactly what we want. And then we can go to the front axle. Now for the front axle, it's important, first of all, that the steering wheel is straight. If you can adjust the steering wheel, or like keep it in that position. Some people have a holder for that, so usually in a workshop you have a holder for that, but I just do it like this. So here at the front we have 1.05, and then here, so the front wheel at the rear 1.05, and here we have 1.45. So it's a lot of toe in on this side. So let's see what the other side shows us. And by the way, steering wheel is still straight, right? So make sure that that works. And then here we have 1.3. And here we want to have more than 1.3. So it's toe in like on the other side. But actually, if we look at this, it's pretty much 1 millimeter or slightly above. So here we have toe out. And that is the reason why when I'm driving, the car pulls to the right-hand side, which means I need to steer to the left to go straight. So what is it like to drive this car? First of all, you constantly look at this pretty magnesium steering wheel. And I really like the dashboard design. The dash is actually exactly the same as in my Polo 6N2, which was my very first car. The problem in the Polo was just that it came in with the facelift and the dash wasn't really fixed. So every time you drove over some heavier bumps, the whole dash would be like shaking around. It's much more solid here in the Lupo because it's built for this car. You have a lot of space to put things, and that's really nice. Also, I took the center console out, as you could see in my previous part, in the previous video, and it's really solid. It also shows you the good quality of this car if you can put everything back together and it fits. So this is really nice, very easy to work on this. And yeah, I really like the design. If you're wondering what kind of radio that is, it doesn't really fit this car, but it's the same as the one I have in my Trabant, which is a really nice aftermarket radio, which can do SD and USB and Bluetooth and everything. So really useful, very easy. If you're looking for a nice radio, look at this one. And so when we want to start the car, how do we do this? So first of all, look at this shifter. The shifter has a bit different positions than what you're used to in an automatic gearbox. So instead of park, we have stop. And we have R, N, and E. So there's no D, there's E because we drive efficiently. And then you can put it here into the manual side. So what does stop do? Stop stops the engine. So that's the difference to P. That's why they didn't call it P. But it also keeps one gear inside. So if you park the car, you usually put the car on stop. And this is the very first shifter. So from the 1999 model. The other ones have this stop position on the left-hand side. So it looks slightly different. So if you want to start this car, first of all, we switch on the ignition. Okay, so you can see this green symbol, so it wants you to press the brake. Okay, now you can hear that the pump for the hydraulic system of the gearbox is working, so it's building up pressure. You don't really have to wait for it. You can already start doing what you want to do, but I usually wait until it's done. Okay, now we can start the engine. And if I go off the brake, then it stops the engine because we are in stop. Yeah, so that's one special thing. So let's do this again. Okay, if you want to keep it running, then keep it on D. Keep the handbrake on. Okay, so now you can also see which gear we are in. So we are in D right now. Yeah. If you want to stop the car, let's say you want to park it, you need to press that button. So press the brake, press that button, go into R. And then without pressing that button, you need to push it forward in stop. I still need to fix this a bit better here. And then you can see S for stop here. Okay. So now let's start again. Okay, so if we want to drive, you just put it in E. You can see E, and we are in gear number 1, and we can start driving. So it already starts crawling, so this is what I adjusted it to with the laptop. And now let's accelerate a little bit, so you can see we are in gear 2 and gear 3. So it's not a rocket, of course, because everything is optimized for very low fuel consumption. Okay, if I go off the throttle, you have the engine braking. Okay, so let's go to the shadow here a little bit. Okay, if I stop, the engine keeps on running. Yeah, we are in E. Okay, so you can also shift manually, and I can show you how this looks like. So this is changing to this now, and then just press it forward and backwards, and then you can choose your own gears. If we go back to E, it looks like this. Okay, so really easy to drive, really nice. It's actually quite quicker than I thought it would be. Although everything seems a bit lazy when you're driving normally, but if you press the throttle a bit more, it really goes, because this car only weighs 800 kilograms. So you don't really need a lot of power. It only has 61 horsepower, but quite a lot of torque because it's a TDI engine. So really nice to drive. Now, there is one very special thing which they did to reach that low fuel consumption. Now, there is the eco button. If I press the eco button while driving, you can see this eco symbol there. It's green, of course, to tell you that there's nothing wrong. This is something good. So this is the mode where the car only has 45 horsepower now. And if I go off the throttle, as we can see here now, we are rolling. So the clutch disengages and you're rolling forever. And this is the low efficiency, or this is the low fuel consumption mode for highest efficiency, where they could reach these 3 liters on 100 kilometers. And it's really nice to use this mode if you're driving on country roads or Autobahn. So it's really nice, you can save a lot of fuel and you can just roll forever, similar to my Phaeton, but the Phaeton is rolling forever because the car is so heavy and so aerodynamic. And there is little resistance, so the Phaeton is running forever, which was the first car I really needed to adjust my driving style to. And the Lupo is the next one, which is rolling even further. So what does the eco mode do now? First of all, you have a bit less power, it's shifting earlier. You're even driving with only 1000 RPM on this 3-cylinder TDI engine, which is sometimes a bit painful, but it does it, and it's good. And I want to show you what happens if we stop the car, because we are talking about a car from 1999, right? So let's stop the car. And now it switches off the engine. So we are in eco mode, we are still on E. I didn't switch the engine off, I just pressed the brake. If you press the brake for more than 3 seconds with more than 4 bar brake pressure and some other requirements around, then it will stop the engine. If I now release the brake, it automatically starts the engine again. So, which is a system we are quite annoyed by on new cars, but we are talking about a car which is now 26 years old and it already has it, which is quite impressive, and it works perfectly. And also the starter is different than on normal Lupo, so it's made for that. So I would just switch it off now so we can keep on running the engine. Okay, so this is how the normal driving works, and it's really impressive how well this car drives, and it's really nice for your everyday life. And what's quite impressive about this car is how simple that is. So we have no power windows, we have manual adjustments for the mirrors. We actually have 2 small mirrors, like you don't see it on new cars anymore. There's no power steering, there's no ESP, there is no air conditioning. The only thing we have is ABS and an automatic gearbox. But this thing really leaves you alone. There are no assistance systems, there is nothing beeping at you or anything. There's not even central locking for the doors, so you just need to lock every door yourself, but which is fine with me, and I really enjoy not being bothered. And this is the first aero modification I wanted to do on this car, so I got myself some moon discs. To be able to do this, I needed some standard steel rims, And it's really a big problem to find wheels for the Lupo, because the special thing is this car doesn't have normal steel wheel hubs, it has aluminium wheel hubs. And that's why the car was only offered with magnesium wheels, but not on steel rims. The standard steel rims for the Lupo were 13-inch, but these 13-inch wheels don't fit on the Lupo 3L as far as I know. So I was trying to find some 14-inch steel rims that fit on here. And there are a couple of things from, for example, Renault you could try. In the end, I went for the VW Up rims. So the standard VW Up rims also have 4 studs, 100 millimeters. It's the same center alignment. And the problem is just that the wheels are slightly bigger. So you can see here, these are 165/70 R14, whereas the original ones are 145/80 R14. So these ones are much higher. You can also see the car is sitting a bit higher. So I will get other tires later. Also, these are winter tires, and of course I want to drive with resistance optimized summer tires. So the problem is that the standard tires are not produced anymore, and VW and Audi were giving out a list of alternative sizes you could drive on this car. This one is not one of them, but soon I will get some. And yeah, it's really tricky to find good wheels for this. So I can tell you the VW Up rims fit on this car. They are nice, just make sure you find right tires. So I will try to go for 155/65 R14, so the car will be a lot lower again compared to now. And that should be a good option. But these rims are really fine, they work nicely. The only problem is now you have steel rims on aluminium wheel hubs, which means that these aluminium wheel hubs could be damaged by the steel rims. So I will watch this, and if there is a problem I might use some adapters or something like this. So let's see. But the cool thing is, as you can see here, it's a really compact car. You have 4 seats, so I can take my whole family. And you still have some reasonable trunk. It doesn't look big here, but it's actually bigger than on most new cars. So really nice and usable, and I really like it. Quite impressive is how much space you have in the back of the Lupo if you fold the seats. Look at this. So you can carry so many things in here. Because of the boxy shape, it's really good usable. And then look at this. You additionally have so much space down here. These are actually the 2 holes, this one and that one, which I needed to close because they were open, so you could just see the street from here. And of course, usually the spare tires in here. And you can actually adjust the rear bench in 2 positions, as you can see here, with this one and this one on the other side. So you can just bring the bench in like this. So now it's closer to here. So if you have no one sitting there, or someone is okay with sitting more upright, you have a bit more space in the back, which is quite useful. Interesting here is that this cover doesn't have any cables or connectors to the tailgate. So you can just open it yourself. So it's easier, you save yourself some parts, and it's lighter. And then just a few impressions of what it's like to drive this car. As you can see here, you're sitting pretty much in the middle of the wheelbase, so you feel like you're driving in a much bigger car. And that is strange because today's cars are very heavy and they feel much lighter than they really are. The Lupo is exactly the other way around. So it's a very light car, but it feels like a very big and heavy and solid car. You feel like you have a lot of car in front of you and you don't really see how little car you have behind you. That's quite funny. And actually, you can still take quite a lot of things because of that boxy shape. Because the battery is in front at this very first Lupo model, we also have more space underneath the trunk. And it's really interesting that everything feels so solid, so nicely. You sit nicely in the car, you have a bigger steering wheel, everything feels like, it's a much heavier car. But actually, the fuel consumption really works out. So I really just needed 3.1 liter, 3.2 liter on 100 kilometers when I was driving on the country roads. On Autobahn it was like 3.5 liters, but I have to say that the car is not in good condition yet. So I only changed the gearbox and I was still driving on winter tires, and I didn't do anything about the engine yet. So I want to do an oil change there. I want to change all the filters and just care about everything around the car. So you might have seen, for example, the windscreen wipers are still rusty, and also the side indicators, I already ordered them. They will be nice and white again. So now I can care about the cosmetics of this car, making it pretty again. But I wanted to share with you that it's really a lot of fun to drive with it. This technology still works very nicely, and it really works reliably, even after 26 years. I mean, reliably low fuel consumption, which is just amazing. So I'm driving this with now a little bit more than 3 liters on 100 kilometers, and currently we pay 150 for 1 liter of diesel, which means that I can get away with like €5 on 100 kilometers with this car. And at the same time I have 4 seats, and I have, if I want to, a lot of storage space. So I'm taking all my tools with this car and driving around, and it's really cool. So I really enjoy driving this car, and yeah, it's really fascinating technology. So I hope you liked this little insight into the status of this car, and from now on we will make it pretty. We will optimize a lot of little things. We will swap a lot of parts to make it a pretty car again, and see you at the next video.